Welcome, everybody, to Money 911, where we talk about health, wealth, and peace of mind. And right now, we're talking about Money 911. Imagine that. Imagine, hey, I want you to check this out. You've already heard the bio about my beautiful guest. And Lori, I ask my guests, give me, a theme or a topic. And this is what she sent to me. She says, "You're not going to die tomorrow. How to save for your financial future while living for today," right? Now, we really don't know if how long we're going to be here. So that's why you want
No.
to have it all figured out now, right, Laura? But I think
Yes.
that's a cool title. And I want to welcome you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I had forgotten, Kris, that I had written that. That's interesting. Yeah, do you want me to expand on it a little bit?
Yeah, go right ahead. That's fine.
Yeah. So as you all know by now, I'm a financial advisor, and a lot of my clients have this conflict about whether to live for today or save for tomorrow. Um, and a lot of us have trouble, especially here in the United States, we have a lot of trouble talking about death. It's just a very uncomfortable topic. You've realized this, right, Kris? Like with
Oh,
it in
yeah,
all your dealings with people.
absolutely.
And so but as a financial professional, when we're talking with people, we have to bring up these uncomfortable topics, and it's stuff that people don't really like to contemplate because no one really wants to contemplate their own demise. Um, and part of it is that if you think really long term like that, you start feeling really overwhelmed and like, how am I ever going to make my life work? How am I going to save enough? How am I going to do enough? And sometimes it's just easier to say, well, I could live tomorrow, so I really don't have to pay attention to that future stuff. And study after study shows that people who are long-term thinkers, who think that who think in those like 5, 10, 20 longer term timelines are more successful. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
not great when you say, I'm just gonna, because the likelihood, like I like to plan for the most likely scenario. And the most likely scenario is that you'll live well into your 80s or 90s and that you'll have a very long, fulfilling life. And so that's what we want to plan for. We don't want to plan for you getting
Absolutely.
hit by a bus tomorrow.
No, absolutely. When I first started my practice 33 years ago, I do revocable living trust. So I'm an estate planner and talking about death, right?
All day, every day for you.
But I had learned from that experience how to make it fun. And that's why my business
Yes.
is called Healthy Money, Happy Life. Like changing the mindset, right? Around the
Yes.
money. And that's what's disempowered people. Just for fun, I ran your title. And I'm not some AI nerdy person, but just for fun, I ran your title in through the AI thing just to see, to shorten it. And here's what it came out was saving for the future without sacrificing the present. Isn't
Oh
that
my gosh.
cool? Isn't that
Did
that's
Chat GPT figure that out?
yeah, I said give me a title for the show and consolidate what you had said. So that's really now I plan for 120, okay? That's how I plan. And when you
You
plan
do?
I do. When you have longevity, right? When you think longevity, like some people, they like, oh, I'm going to die at 80. Well, go right ahead. Only God knows, right? But there's something about, like, there's a study even about people that have annuities. When they know they have a guaranteed income, they live longer, right? So there's an actual
Wow.
study around that. So,
I bet the insurance companies aren't happy about that because they are banking on you dying early.
right. Well, right. Well, not everybody, gets that or understands it because the money myth has been so disguised and only certain topics are allowed to be on the mainstream. But, and I know in your practice you have the same experience. Like, counseled over 6,000 people in 33 years. And in that time, I've done more mindset conversations with people than applications, right? It's the
Yes.
money mastery. It's like breaking free from these blocks and the relationship with money. I think that is what inhibits people from longevity planning, right?
Yes, yeah. It is so important to try to change your mindset from money is controlling me to money is a tool that I control,
A tool,
right?
right?
But that is really difficult because a lot of us grew up with scarcity mindsets. We grew up with parents who were always scrambling,
Right.
or or parents who had their own money mindsets because of that greatest generation is the silent generation is now the depression babies are now, they are dying, but their children are still very much part of the narrative out there
Right.
about that scarcity mindset. And the fact is that if you think on a broader level, there's plenty of money in the world, there's plenty of resources to go around.
There's plenty for everybody. And that
Yes.
scarcity, it's actually something that I think is imposed upon people, like you said, generationally. And so there's really an art of financial wellness and
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Right. And I'm sure you've got, give us a few practical tips, right? And how people can embrace that imperfection and use that, because money is an instrument, it's an energy, it's a tool. It's actually just a piece of paper that's not even gold backed. So, hello.
Right. It's just numbers on a screen, isn't it? It's
Right.
just like there's nothing else to it. So I'm a numbers person. I actually really love numbers, and I have this dichotomy between the numbers and the mindset piece. So what I love to do is to help people understand their values. So I think it's really, really important, especially now when all of us are bombarded with all of this messaging all day long.
Right.
And you can't help but think that maybe I need to be doing that. Maybe I need to be buying that. Maybe I need to be going this place. Maybe I need to have my relationship look like that. All these things. And the most important first step is to get a really good hold on what it is that's important to you personally, outside of all the noise. And I don't shame people ever for the things that they want. If what you really want is to own a boat, if what you really want is to have a big house or have a nice car, none of those things are bad inherently. I think there's a lot of guilt around money, but I think the practical thing to do at the very beginning, and what anybody can do, regardless of where they are in their financial journey, is they can sit down and really try to start clarifying their value system. And when they make purchasing decisions, just think, is this reflective of my values? Or is it not? And I use this example for me, like, I don't like store brand toilet paper. Okay. So like I spend the extra few dollars or whatever on Charmin. But that's a conscious choice that I make. It's my value system. It's what I like to use, right? So try not to judge yourself for your choices, but try to just really understand whether it's coming from the outside or whether it's something that you really want on the inside.
Right, right. And there's a lot of self-reflection in there because I mean, you go to school, you learn how to make money, you get out of school, what do? Go make
Yeah.
money. Most people give money to somebody else like you or me to put somewhere, and then they don't want to know about it. Like I'll ask people,
Right.
I've looked at thousands of portfolios and I'll go, where's your 401k? And they're, oh, and they name some big company, but they're really embarrassed because they don't know. And I go, where's it invested? Oh, it's an IRA or a 401k. Yeah, right. That's the qualification. But what is it in? And they don't know.
And they don't know.
And they don't want to
Yes.
know. Right?
Well, right, because a lot of us live in that place where we think that it's going to be scarier to know than it is to keep than the anxiety that keeping our head buried in the sand causes. So
Right.
another action item, and to your point, this is something that constantly sort of surprises me, is that people don't actually know where their money is. So
That's
if you're
right.
listening to this right now and you're like, I actually don't like, could I name all of my accounts? And people have a lot more accounts than actually what they need. And
Mhm.
my book that I recently came out with talks about this. What accounts do you really need? Do you need all these pieces all over the place, or are most of us okay with just a handful of accounts? And most of us are usually okay with just a
Right.
handful of accounts.
Right. There's a combination of living in the present but
Mm,
investing in the future, which is saving for the future without sacrificing the present. It's the same,
yes.
right? And
Yeah.
then balancing the life today. Well, right now, I think people need to kind of draw in a little bit. I mean, because my opinion is we're in a turning, right? Everything is shifting, and the powers that be are trying to create one currency and one medical and the whole one world concept that's being driven down people's media ports, right? But the point is, you people got to be aware. That's why this is money 911. You've got to have safe money. You've got it's just like I live in California, right? We have fires here. I have a to-go bag, right? Or earthquakes, right? You have
Right. Yes.
hurricanes or floods or whatever out there in Atlanta where you are. So you got to be prepared. I used to tell people, well, 6 month rainy day money. Now I'm going, you should have a year at least, right?
I
And
think so. Post pandemic, that really hit home because 6 months at the start of the pandemic turned
right,
out not to be enough.
not
We were all still financially insecure, and I
right.
think we're still feeling reverberations of that
Oh yeah,
in people's careers,
oh
in
yeah,
their life journey. Their decisions around family and kids and where they're going to live. And yeah, it is so important to get a handle on where you are now. And I think actually that most people may be better off than they think that they are if they could actually run the numbers. So when I said earlier that I'm a numbers person, what I like to do with numbers is use them as a reassuring tool. So basically, laying out that plan for financial independence and saying, as long as you save X and spend Y and invest in this way and retire at X date, you should be just fine. Like, you shouldn't be living in a cardboard box, barring a zombie apocalypse, which none of us can control. Right. And so why are we going to plan for that? Right.
hmm
We're going to plan for the most likely scenario. But oftentimes I find that when I show my clients those numbers, they breathe a sigh of relief because they're like, oh, I can do that. And maybe it's not too late. Maybe I can do something. And in worst case scenario, maybe I have to work a couple more years than I want to. Or or maybe I have to invest a little bit more aggressively than I was originally comfortable with. Or maybe I have to spend a little bit less and save a little bit more. Whatever it is, but I think that really facing those numbers square in the face makes it so that you can breathe that sigh of relief when you're looking at all of your financial planning. And you
right.
can't avoid it. You avoid it, and then you wake up at 65 and then you come into my office and you're like, I have nothing. And then we sit down and I say, you have to make some really, really hard choices now. Like, past you made these choices that are now forcing present you into a very, very difficult, uncomfortable situation.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
It's and it is a financial psychology. That's
Mm,
and I didn't really realize in the beginning years and the behavior and financial success and like you were talking about what we're being fed by the media of like you need all these things to be happy now in my going through decades of my life and coming to the my money is you, my money is my heart connections with people,
yes.
that that's what I take that with me where it can't crash. It's not going to crash. It's not going to go away. It's with me, and I get to take that everywhere when I get to meet a beautiful person,
Yes.
right?
And isn't that so nice when you have that deep level of security?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you don't get that deep level of security chasing things that you think you should want.
Right.
You only get it by really honing in and understanding what it is that makes you tick, just like in the
Exactly.
same way that you've figured it out.
Exactly. And the money and the emotions, the emotions is sort of heaped on us by, the world or being born into the system of everything. And how do you overcome that? Like, how do you overcome that? Your what your mother said and your friends said. And it takes time. You have to take time out of your life and, take an hour on a Sunday. I I had a really neat one. I was a speaker at the in Washington D.C. to the Financial Officers Association, the guys that handle the billions and trillions of dollars, and the director was there. Very fancy group of people that are agents for the government, and
Yeah.
you're right. And I'm going, how many of you guys are ready for retirement? Crickets. Like two
No.
percent of these is the guys that are handling the billions and trillions, and I go, okay. And the director's standing right by me, and I looked at him kind of like with a big question mark. Goes, we're busy taking care of other people's money.
I
And I
mean,
went,
didn't the Pentagon just lose like $2 trillion? They have no
whoops,
idea what happened to it.
whoops,
Like it's just
whoops. No,
so
no
so
accounting.
no.
No,
Yeah, it
right.
is. It is so interesting. I have clients who work in financial services, right? They work at a large bank or they work in a commercial lending institution or whatever it is. And and they don't know anything about personal finance,
Right.
right? And so like those guys said, I mean, it sounds like we're a little skeptical as to how well they were taking care of other people, but it is true that no matter what industry you're in, you usually put your own personal financial life on the back burner.
Exactly. You're
When
busy with your kids, you're busy with your life. That was exactly the point. We're all
Mhm.
busy taking care of our family, taking care of our kids. And then you look up and you're, ready for retirement and haven't started yet. And
Right.
that's the shocking thing that got me mad.
Yes, I know, but it doesn't have to be that hard. I think
That's
people
right.
make it so intimidating, right? Like our industry, I feel like has a vested interest in making other people feel like they can't figure this stuff out.
Right.
Because or else if everybody understood how to do it in a simple, straightforward way, then how could we charge our big fees anymore?
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
I
There's
mean it's
an intimidation that, you're stupid and, you need
yes.
me because I'm so smart. And it's so disempowering that people run from that unconsciously.
Yeah.
And right,
Yeah.
right,
I totally agree. And that is something that it has always been my mission and will continue to be to really help people get rid of that intimidation factor because it doesn't at the end of the day it actually as long as your plan is set up well right from the beginning it shouldn't take you that long to maintain it every year. You don't have to make that many decisions. You have some review to do, but 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 what I love to do is really help people understand that it is this isn't like the biggest rocket sciencey thing. And of
right,
course, different people have different layers of complexity, right? Like if you have someone who's running a $20 million a year business, they're going to have a different need than everybody else. What really gets to me is when these like sort of it's usually a life insurance person, sometimes it's a real estate person, but they try to say, oh, rich people use this tactic so you should use it too, and it's like, no, no,
not a
this is
one
not a
size
one
fits
size fits
size.
all,
Right,
right?
right.
No. And
It's custom. You got a custom design because everybody's got a whole
yes,
right. And
totally different.
it's an unconventional money wisdom, right? And and I call it like mindful money approach,
Yes,
right?
that's great.
And be more conscious, like, because people are unconscious, even people that live paycheck to paycheck. I said, just like keep all your receipts for a month and then add them up, right? It's very simple. And you have your discretionary and non discretionary, right? You'll find money. Imagine that. Then you take that and you put it in your DNT account. What's that? Do not touch. I mean, basic savings. Now, I laugh about
Right.
this, but I was taught this my daddy taught me this. So I was inherited it, but most people don't have that kind of a beautiful daddy that teaches that. Maybe they have something else. So,
Yeah.
and so it isn't that I'm better. It's just I got that when I was younger. And so, I mean, even if I was a multimillionaire, there's a certain consciousness that you get,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. You know what? That's the thing. If you're low middle income or if you're a multimillionaire, you need the same basic skills and understanding and knowledge. But I
Right.
want to go back to your non-discretionary versus discretionary, because I
Okay.
think this is something that like sort of trips people up, right? Because when we think of non-discretionary, we think of like food, clothing, shelter, right? and
Yeah. Right.
and those categories, like, first of all, there can be a ton of discretion in all of those categories. And I'd even argue that in today's day and age, clothing, while it is non-discretionary because you have to have it, most of us have enough where we could go on, probably a
Hello.
year or two without
5
buying anything,
lifetimes.
right? With just like, and I'm not buying
Right.
anything.
Right.
So, but I do think that, again, this is another one of those, like, there is no one size fits all. If you're going through your expenses and there's something someone else might consider it discretionary, but if it's non-discretionary, if it's like essential for your quality of life and you absolutely need it, then, maybe it doesn't necessarily, maybe you don't have to feel guilty about that, is what I'm saying. So,
Right.
because I just think, again, there's so much shame and guilt, and, and I am not a big, like, we're not going to try to do the Dave Ramsey rice and beans thing,
No,
because
no.
because it's too depriving. You have to have that balance between your joy today and your
Right.
saving for the future.
Right. And I don't really agree with it. And then you pay your house off, and then you don't have any money that you've saved because you put it all in the house, and then the house
Right.
crashes or goes down in value, but you have nothing to invest. Anyway, yeah, everybody's got little pieces. I haven't, really found anybody that has the whole package. So that's the beautiful thing about learning and staying open and listening to shows like this. And don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends, right? Because that's how we get the word out. And
Yes.
this is our media, and this is how we can help people and break free from what is it? Financial stress.
Yes, financial stress, and most of us are living with it. I think that right now we have never had a higher percentage of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck than we do right now.
I
And
know. That's
and this
pretty
is
something. Yeah.
it really is. The credit card debt has never been higher. Um,
Hello.
so
Right.
and interest rates aren't going down on those credit cards either.
No.
As a whole society, we are really struggling financially right now, and it's not there. It is not all personal responsibility. There is a very difficult system and sort of powers that be that are working,
Right.
that are not making it easy for average Americans.
That's right.
But it doesn't mean that you're totally disempowered either. So,
Right.
like, there are things that you can do. You can't control the system, but you sure can control
That's
yourself.
right. That's right. And I kind of see, this chaos going on, but you can still prosper inside of it. And
Yes.
you just have to manage through it. But I heard one the other day. It was shocking. Half of baby boomers, right, don't even have a savings, right? That's
Mm.
retirement age, boomers, or past retirement age, right? Third, fourth quarter life. No savings.
I I mean,
Right?
we were not prepared for, when Social Security first came to fruition, the average life expectancy for men was 59 and the
Oh,
average life expectancy for women was 62. So
mm,
you weren't even expected to live long enough to ever take your Social Security,
jeez. Yeah,
but now, and you weren't expected to live but a few years into your retirement. So you were
right,
really working the entirety of your adult life.
right.
But now our life expectancy is increased by 20 years from that time. And and people are still having the same expectation about when they're going to stop earning income, which is, 60, maybe 65. But I think that, and you can probably speak to this too, Kris, that we maybe need to really rethink the way that we earn over time. Like
Right.
maybe a little bit earlier, maybe when you're in your 50s, you need to start thinking about what your encore career is going to be. You need to start
That's
thinking about maybe
exactly right. That's exactly
maybe you're going to make a little bit of money here and there to supplement, your Social
hmm
Security, or maybe a little pension that you have coming in. Um, and people poo-poo the government quite a bit, but if you work for the federal government for a long time and you have a nice salary at the end, you get your nice pension and you get your nice
hmm
Social Security on top of it. It's a very secure way to go, but there's hardly any places like that anymore. But the baby boomers grew up in a time when that was the expectation, right? That you would work for a company and they would take care of you.
Right.
And then they've now retired into a time when that is completely not the case. And so I can see why it's very difficult. And most people take their Social Security early at 62.
They don't even realize that if they wait until 70, they get 30% more and they figure out their income streams and they're just not taught. But
Right.
to what you said, that's and I did. It's not that I'm so smart, but when I was about 55 and I was in that middle transition,
Yeah.
I started looking at like, okay, I have a very successful business, and I looked at, well, you can only drink one cup of coffee at a time or whatever, tea, and and then now how can I give back? How can I take my business and turn it into something that I can contribute and help people? And so not only am I going to have, I'm working retired, but I'm going to have something that's going to give me a living legacy. So I'm really a big fan of living my legacy, not waiting till I pass on and then leave it, which I will, but I'm going to live it. And so I've created a conscious giving council. I'm working on it like it's like a mastermind of people that have been successful that can join like minds and change the world with the wealth and the blessings that we've been given.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
amazing.
yeah. And that's inspiring because that gets, if you have a passion and a joy, that gets you up in the morning every day. And that's like money, right?
Yes.
That's the fuel that keeps you going. And you'd be surprised if you think like that. I've watched people that have done that and their businesses skyrocket because they weren't so much about themselves.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you're a person who's interested in having a purpose, and I hope most people are like that. Some
Yeah.
people are in complete places where they can't.
Right.
But your purpose has to be about helping others in some way. It
Right.
can't be, a purpose is not selfish,
Right.
inherently. It's just not. So
Yeah.
so if you can do what you did and what I do, because this is absolutely what I love to do. It's my one gift I think that I can give. And you wake up every morning looking forward to who you can help that day,
Yeah.
who you can collaborate with, who you can
Right.
teach.
Right.
And it makes life, this short little silly time that we have on this planet,
Right.
just feel so much more meaningful, because at the
Right.
end of the day, all we have is like your own short life and this moment. And so
That's
so
right.
so it really it is so important to, again, I'm not advocating living as if you're going to die tomorrow,
Right.
but so many people go through decades asleep, and then finally one day they wake up and they
Oops.
they look back like, what the hell did I do with my
Right.
life?
That's not fun. No.
No,
No.
no. So
That brings us
it
for full circle back to
yes,
saving for the future, but not sacrificing the present. So enjoying where you're at, but being mindful of, okay, and if you don't know, then you take the time to learn. Which reminds me, I think you have a book that you're working on, or it's coming out soon, or
I do. I'm really excited about it. So I took all of my years of working with clients one on one and consolidated all of all of my teachings and all of those sort of most common questions that you get over and over. Did you have this in Kris in your practice where it was just like
Yep.
people came in, they had the same sort of life experience, they had the
Right.
same questions, and
Right.
you're like, wait, hang on, didn't we already talk about this? Oh no, that was my client from 2 weeks ago.
Right. Right.
Um, so I've taken all of that and broken it down into really digestible short chapters that cover all of the areas of personal finance. So, mindset, budgeting, cash flow, estate planning, insurance, taxes. Taxes are huge. And the more that you understand taxes, the better you will do with your money. A lot of times I like to say that I can't create investment alpha very easily, meaning that I can't beat benchmarks. And there's just not any evidence to say that I can or that anybody else can. But what we can do is create tax alpha, meaning that we can save on taxes in a way that makes your longer term financial outcome way better than it would have been before. So I
Right.
talk a lot about tax, and I do talk a lot about investing in there, and so all of those areas come together kind of holistically, and the whole book is illustrated so that all the financial planning concepts have these really great kind of anthropomorphic animals doing the different things that you would do as a regular person.
That's
So it's really neat. I designed it for middle income Americans, people who can't afford a fee only fiduciary financial advisor, or or people who just aren't at that space yet to feel like they need one. But it really tells you everything you need and nothing you don't, and it's not dry or boring.
not dry or boring. All right. Well, you're
I
not
know.
dry or boring. That's for sure, Laura. You're
Oh, thanks,
you're
Kris. Neither
you're
are you.
you're a sparkle. Tell everybody how they can connect with you and find out more about your book and what you got going on.
Great. You can always find me at financiallab.us. And my book is there. And also, if you ever want to just contact me, book a call, my contact page is always open.
All right. Well, I think we're talking about financial success, but the success is really present. Really, it isn't about how much money you have. I'll just say that. I mean, I have a lot of stories, right? I mean,
Yes.
multi-millions or homelessness. It really is the joy in your heart first.
Yes.
And that's really real. And there's something that when you're in that state, it will magnetize the other money and those things to you because you're in the right state, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. I
Right.
mean, you can't everything begins with a thought.
Right.
And if you're and what I always say is that if we have negative thoughts, those negative thoughts over time can balloon into very negative outcomes, right? But if we
That's right.
have positive thoughts and positive decisions, even small positive decisions can balloon into very large positive outcomes over time. So it is important
Exactly.
to watch what we think.
Absolutely. And sometimes people are so distressed that they don't know how to get out of those negative thoughts. And you can't, I'm going to be positive, but you can't, sometimes I have a little trick. It's not a trick. It's a gift that
Oh,
was,
I want to hear the trick.
well, you probably know it already. It's a gift that's given to me, but it's like a trim tab. When I, okay, when I get up in the morning, I think of 5 things I'm grateful for. Okay. Before I hit my feet on the floor and thank God for everything, I'm just like, I have good health, I have a great business, I have friends and family, whatever I'm grateful for. If you can't find anything, you're breathing, right? Hopefully have a bed and a house and food. You get real basic. Pretty soon you're kind of like, you're looking around like, wow, thank you for, you know, my cool house, right? Or whatever it is, or my friends. And then I do that before I go to sleep too. And it was kind of hard at first because I was going through stuff in my brain, and then now it's just all day long when like I was like, well, I'm grateful that that challenge is happening because it's making me really look a little bit more inside myself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like a trim tab.
Exactly.
It's a
Hmm.
button you push. Gratitude is the attitude that gives you the latitude to rise above all the fumes of the chaos, right?
Yes.
Oh, Laura, it's been so fun talking to you.
Oh, so fun talking with you, Kris. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to you for having me on.
You're a real joy, and I appreciate you. And maybe we'll weave your book into our financial literacy movement so that people are empowered, right?
Yay! Yes, that's
Yay!
the goal.
All right. Then they won't have money 911. It'll be money healthy and happy forever.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
There's so much to learn about healthy money. I hope today's discussion brings you one step closer to securing and protecting your future. So you can get started on the right foot, go to meetwithkrismeller.com and schedule your free financial fitness strategy session. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to Money 911 so you don't miss our next episode, which includes health, wealth, and peace of mind. The power of purpose. Doing well by doing good. The power of purpose. Doing well by doing good. The power to bless lives inside of